Hey everybody, just Jesse here, welcoming you back into my garage, my man cave for another day of accountability. I hope you guys are doing well with yours. Today is Tuesday, it's October 6th, the year 2020, and I read through John chapter 15 today. Now what that has to deal with, at least the first section that I want to go over, is how fruitfulness can be fun. So do you want to know how to bring more joy into your life? Well, being fruitful is just that. Now, I know that's one of my key goals in life is to bring joy into my life and be fruitful, but Jesus taught his staff how to be fruitful so that their joy may be full. And we see that in verse 11 where it says, I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. Now, I know that I always look for and strive to grasp as much joy as I can in life. There's just there are other reasons to live, but joy is a big part of that reason. And so what I'm saying is really that being fruitful is fun. Now I know that it seems like it could be hard work, and that doesn't seem like very much fun, but it's just one of those things that just has to happen. I mean, isn't it so much fun when you get to see the joy in being fruitful by getting those God gains, by doing those things that God's asked, and then when you accomplish that goal and you see the end result, how much joy it brings to your heart when everything comes together. John 15:16 says that Jesus chose us and appointed us so that we would grow in fruitfulness and go out and share the good news. Now, our goal needs to be bearing fruit and helping others. That is probably one of the top two goals in life. Be fruitful and go and share. Now, the other goal that I would say, number one, would be to love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. We have to be more than faithful, though. Faith takes us so far, but we have to actually take that step once we get to the ledge, and we have to be fruitful. We have to have great potential for fruitful leadership because in verse 1, we see that the word source, and it's not necessarily actually spelled out source, but we see that Jesus is the true vine, and if we stay connected to him, then we naturally bear fruit. So that's where the source is. Jesus is the source. Also in verse 1, we see that our very own God is the vine dresser. He takes care of our needs. He takes care of us growing on the vine. So care would be the next thing that we see for great potential into leadership. Third, we see that in verse 2 that God prunes us and God removes any distractions that hinder our usefulness. And so he trims away our weaknesses, but we have to be open and we have to ask God, take this from me. God, you have to be in communication with God at all times in order for him to know what our weakness is, what's distracting us, what's taking us away from the vine. Verse 4, we see the word partnership, and basically our job in life is to not genetically modify our own fruit to grow, but to stay connected to the vine. And once we stay connected to that vine, then we will grow naturally. Verse 7 shows us the promise. If we see God's word, if we let God's word live in our lives, then he promises to do what we ask. And you can see that in verse 7. Verse 8, I see purpose, and God created us to glorify him by bearing much fruit. We are to bear fruit, and it's not in the literal form like I'm going to grow a pear out of my arm or, corn out of my leg or whatever. It isn't about that kind of fruit. The fruit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, self-control, things like that. The fruits of the Spirit. How well you can adapt to situations that are thrown in front of you, but bring God into that situation in order for your life to show what God's doing through you. Lastly, in verse 10, we see obedience, and Jesus gives us the only condition to all this. It's just to obey God. If we remain in God and we receive from God and we reproduce for God, that is what we're supposed to be doing. Just being obedient, obey God. Jesus tells us if you do this, you remain on the vine. If you receive the nourishment, if you reproduce and keep growing, then you will be fruitful, and then life will be so much more fun. I hope that John 15 spoke to you like it did to me today. I know that being fruitful doesn't always seem like it's fun, but once you accomplish the goal that you have been striving for, it definitely is. So if you think that somebody in your circle needs a little bit of help and could utilize this in order to help them grow and help them have more fun in their lives and bring more joy in, then share it with them. Get it out there. I hope that those that come across my video that don't know what this video is about, I hope that you can see that in reading God's Word every day. Once you connect with that lifeline, and once God teaches you what He wants to tell you, then you can find accountability in almost anything. Now, when I started this journey, it was an accountability journey to stay in God's Word every day and to be accountable to that. Now, I looked for accountability in a lot of different places, and I couldn't find it because accountability isn't something that man can withhold to the fullest extent. It has to come from God. And so when I asked God, what can I do to be more accountable to staying in your word and praying and being in connection with you, and his response was, get in the word and make a video. If you make that video and post it, then that's proof that you went through the word today and that you listened to what I taught you. I write down everything that I learned in a notebook, and that helps me get through the videos because there's a lot of information that God tells us as long as we listen. So anyway, that's my story of the journey, and I hope that it touches you, and I hope that if you're looking for accountability, or if you just like this channel, that you would subscribe and hit the little bell in the top corner. It'll give you a notification when I put a new video out. All right, guys, I hope that you guys are being safe. I hope that you're going and growing, and God bless.